Welcome back to Movie Arise. Today I will show you a life story, parody, dramatization film from 2011, named The Intouchables. Spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and fare thee well. One late night in Paris, Driss is driving his boss Philippe through the city. While holding up in rush hour gridlock gets excessively exhausting, Driss brakes as far as possible and starts driving very quick, avoiding different vehicles and not thinking often about traffic signs. This makes the police pursue him, and Driss wagers €100 that he can lose them. However, subsequent to driving under a scaffold, the police get up to speed by ambushing them from the two sides. Driss doesn't look excessively stressed however, and this time, he wagers €200 that he can get them an escort. The police make him leave the vehicle and he begins acting then. At that point, acting offendedly and telling them Philippe can't move and he was taking him to the medical clinic. The officials find verification of this when they track down the wheelchair in the truck and, when moving toward Philippe, they see him writhing, which is additionally a demonstration. Seeing as it's a crisis, the police excuse Driss for braking as far as possible and deal themselves as escorts en route to the emergency clinic. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss plays September by Earth, Wind and Fire, and when they show up at their objective, he imparts a smoke to Philippe when the police are gone. Driss guarantees he'll deal with it and drives them away not long before the clinic staff could track down them. This fellowship started quite a while back. Philippe and his right hand Magli are holding meetings to track down another guardian for him. Be that as it may, it isn't going excessively well, since all candidates have extremely standard or off-kilter replies to their inquiries questions. Be that as it may, they're unexpectedly amazed when Driss storms in, overlooking the reality it isn't his turn yet, on the grounds that he just believes that a few papers should be marked saying they won't recruit him so he can get the joblessness benefits. He's unpolished and a little inconsiderate. In any event, hitting on Magli. However, Philippe thinks that he is entertaining also, requests that he return the following day for his marked papers. Driss returns to his home in an unassuming area and attempts to clean up while all his little can irritate him, just figuring out how to make it happen in time on account of his sister Mina, who is somewhat more seasoned than the others and more mindful. While trusting that their mother will show up, he glances through the window and notification his sibling Adama escaping a dubious vehicle. At the point when the kid enters the condo, he simply says he was at school and leaves again, later snatching his sack, making Driss be much more certain that he's looking for trouble. At night, his mother shows up, and he gifts him a fabricated copyright take he took and tells her he's been away an extended getaway. When she inquires, she is distraught to see him however, in light of the fact that he vanished for a considerable length of time and never called. Furthermore, presently he's appeared all of a sudden as though her house was an inn, as she's totally finished with every one of his falsehoods and she has different youngsters she needs to take care of. She throws him out and tells him not to return. Driss goes through the late evening having a smoke and a few snacks with some local companions. The following day, Driss returns to Philippe's home for his papers, and he's gotten by the servant, Yvonne, who shows him around the spot and informs him regarding Philippe's day-to-day schedule. She additionally shows him the room he would get for himself with his own special washroom. Driss can't resist the urge to gaze at the bath before he's hauled to see Philippe, who offers the marked piece of paper yet additionally an open position. Driss acknowledges the 1-month preliminary, and Philippe lets him know he wagers he won't most recent 14 days. In the wake of carrying his things to his room, Driss is shown how to deal with Philippe. He should figure out how to keep his legs animated, how to place him in the wheelchair, how to help him shower and put on something else. Things get off kilter when Driss finds he should put on him a few high stockings and even clean his butt after Philippe utilizes the restroom. Yet regardless of the amount he gripes and says he will not do those errands, he winds up tolerating them as an aspect of his responsibilities. Later at night, while he's partaking in a nibble on the rooftop, he's intruded on by Philippe's little girl Elisa and her beau Baston, who are searching for a confidential spot to make out, and he kicks them both out subsequent to declining to share his lager. Driss rapidly becomes acclimated to the everyday daily schedule with Philippe, regardless of whether at first he makes a few mix-ups he gains from, such as giving the telephone to Philippe as opposed to putting it on his ear or failing to remember the child's screen while having a shower. He additionally figures out how to sort out his mail in various envelopes, the greater part of the letters he opens for Philippe, yet there's a progression of private ones he isn't permitted to check out. At the point when he finds a flyer advancing female escorts, he chooses to begin a record only for those rather than tossing them in the rubbish as Philippe says. It's not all work in this new life however. Driss actually tries to live it up. He continues to attempt to hit on Magli without any result, and now and again calls escorts to join him in bed. One morning, after Yvonne comes to his space to admonish him for being late, she discovers some perilous weapons in his sack, yet she doesn't remark on them yet. Driss' work today is to drive Philippe around, yet he won't place him in that frame of mind of a van as though he was freight. So all things considered, he takes him on one of the extravagant vehicles that don't have the foggiest idea much use. Philippe, who first thinks this isn't reasonable and says they ought to be even-minded, is soon finding out about a quicker, less exhausting ride, in spite of the fact that Yvonne actually objects. At the point when they attempt to leave the structure, there's a neighbor stopped at their entry, overlooking the sign on the entryway that says it's illegal. Driss burns through no time and pursues the person, getting him by the front of his shirt and undermining him until he moves the vehicle. Yet again Philippe is intrigued by his activities, yet Yvonne objects. The pair goes to a gallery, where Philippe is intending to purchase a piece of fine art that Driss considers not worth the cash since it's simply a red smear on the material. A while later, Philippe meets with a relative of his, who lets him know everybody is stressed about Driss since he can be vicious. He's likewise found he has a crook record, yet Philippe couldn't care less. He appreciates Driss on the grounds that he doesn't feel sorry for him and wouldn't fret messed around with him. After one more bombed endeavor at hitting on Magli, Driss eats with Yvonne in the kitchen while standing by listening to Philippe direct a letter to Magli. Guaranteeing it's a confidential discussion, Yvonne switches off the child's screen and continues to make sense of what's happening. Philippe is pen pals with a lady called copyright honor. Those are the letters he didn't allow Driss to open. Be that as it may, he's never met copyright honor face to face. Their relationship is simply epistolar. Discussing love, Driss prods Yvonne for the looks the groundskeeper gives her constantly prior to hitting the sack. He's attempting to rest when he hears a few strange sounds coming from the child's screen. Philippe is experiencing difficulty relaxing, not being able to disregard him regardless of whether he attempts. Driss goes to his room and tenderly aids him through the assault with relieving words and a wet material to wipe his face. Philippe at last nods off, just to get up again minutes after the fact, saying he really wants air. This time Driss doesn't hold back. He puts Philippe on the wheelchair, covers him with covers, and takes him out for a walk around the stream. This is whenever Philippe first has seen Paris around evening time in quite a while, and presently he's more loose. He clarifies for Driss that the medication can indeed do a limited amount a lot and he once in a while encounters ghost torment. At the point when they see a few young ladies strolling by, Philippe likewise admits he isn't fit for pleasuring a lady in light of his circumstance, yet he actually can partake in some fulfillment when he gets his ears rubbed in light of the fact that they are touchy zones. At the point when the apparition torment takes steps to show up once more, Driss imparts one of his joints to Philippe, who has serious doubts from the outset yet winds up cherishing it. Thereafter, they go to an eatery, where they mess around while sharing a dinner, and Philippe chooses to share a greater amount of his story. He met his better half when they were understudies, and soon after they got hitched. She had 5 premature deliveries and was determined to have a hopeless, terminal ailment. That is the point at which they embraced Lisa. Philippe has consistently cherished contests, outrageous games, and speed, and a paraglider gave him that. It was during a paragliding meeting that terrible weather conditions made him crash and break his vertebrae, despite the fact that he actually thinks his genuine impairment isn't the seat. However, living without his better half. In the wake of messed around so more, Philippe recollects the date and acknowledges Driss has passed his 1-month preliminary, so he's presently authoritatively recruited. In any case, he really wants to begin by bringing back the Fabergé copyright egg he took in light of the fact that it was a gift from his significant other. She would give him one consistently, and he has precisely 25, coordinating their time together. The following day, Driss goes to converse with Mina while she's leaving school, who is a piece irritated since he hasn't been noting her messages but to request that she search for the egg. She additionally educates him regarding a few police that have been calling their home. Thereafter, he visits Adama, who admits he was found with 30 grams on him. Driss needs to take him to lunch, yet Adama denies and on second thought gets in the equivalent dubious vehicle from previously. Later on, Driss is permitted to be available while Philippe directs his letter for copyright honor to Magli. He thinks this purple exposition is extremely exhausting and that Philippe ought to be more straightforward. He's likewise bewildered to hear that this has been happening for quite a long time and they won't ever trade pictures. At the point when he finds her telephone number on one of the letters, He accepts it as a sign and calls her, obliging Philippe to take the telephone, lastly address her external the composed word. Their discussion goes so indeed. Philippe is presently on the telephone with her constantly, indeed, even just before he and Driss go to the drama, during which Driss snickers and makes fun of the ensembles. The following day, Driss persuades Philippe to acknowledge to trade pictures with LA tilde copyright on, or also, picks one of him in the wheelchair. Subsequently, while he's painting, Elisa blasts into his space to ask him for cigarettes and ridicules him for attempting to be creative. Blowing up, he throws her out prior to going to see Philippe, who is presently asking Yvonne to change the picked picture for one of him when he wasn't quadriplegic. She conceals the image inside the escort document just before Driss burst in, griping about Elisa and telling Philippe he wants to teach her, something Yvonne concurs with. Philippe consents to converse with her, however he's for the most part astonished when Driss neglects it that he's been painting. Days proceed to pass, and the companionship among Philippe and Driss keeps on developing. Driss takes him to play in the snow and carries him with him when he goes out for a run. Philippe gets him his most memorable suit and chides his girl while Driss pays attention to him through the child screen. At the point when Driss completes his most memorable artwork, he shows it to Magli, who slaps him when he attempts to kiss her. Philippe, in any case, enjoys the work of art and commits he'll attempt to sell it. Both of them live it up with one another, appreciating things like getting a quicker vehicle, sharing joints, and in any event, recruiting a companies together. At the point when Philippe's birthday comes, he isn't extremely amped up for it. Consistently, he claims to be shocked that they're setting up a party and needs to meet with this multitude of family members that may come to see him on the date to check he's as yet alive. Philippe says it'll be in every way rather exhausting. While he and the visitors partake in some live traditional music, Driss looks for Elisa, who is crying in her room subsequent to having taken a portion of Yvonne's pills, which won't kill her as she anticipated. The motivation behind why she's miserable is that Baston said a final farewell to her and called her a tart, so she requests that Driss converse with the kid, which he acknowledges to accomplish at a cost. In the interim, Philippe is showing Driss painting to his family member and figures out how to persuade him to get it for 11,000 euros. Driss returns to the lounge area and visits with Yvonne, who lets him know Magli is in a relationship with somebody named Fred. However, things are fairly rough right now, giving Driss trust. As the party subsides, Philippe causes Driss to pay attention to probably the most significant tunes in traditional music history, however he can joke accordingly. After the band is finished, he brings his I-unit and plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind, Fire before he begins moving squarely in the center of the floor. He's an inconceivable artist and even persuades the remainder of the party to go along with him and dance with him, which Philippe appreciates watching. Afterward, while taking care of Philippe, Driss opens LA tilde copyright Honor's most recent letter to him. She's sent her image, showing she's somewhat lovely, and is letting him know they ought to meet 1 week from now when she visits Paris. At the point when the day of the date comes, Yvonne and Driss put Philippe through many outfits until they view as the ideal one. Also, since Yvonne the one will take Philippe to the date, Driss utilizes his day away from work to visit Baston and undermines him until the kid acknowledges to apologize to Elisa and to bring her croissants consistently. He additionally requests that he fix his hair. Subsequently, he visits his mom at work, yet just to watch her from a remote place. At the eatery, Yvonne and Philippe are hanging tight for LA tilde copyright Honor, who is exceptionally late. Subsequent to sitting tight for 60 minutes, Philippe surrenders, calls Driss to request that he remove him, and afterward leaves the eatery without seeing LA tilde copyright Honor showing up simultaneously. That very evening, Philippe takes Driss with him in his confidential plane and gives him the cash he got for selling the image, making him limitlessly blissful. They come to the wide open the following morning, and Philippe chooses to go paragliding, hauling Driss with him too. Driss maintains that nothing should do with it, yet after at first going crazy, he closes up partaking in the experience. At the point when they get back, Adama is there sitting tight for Driss and gets reprimanded when he sees the scars all over. Adama will in any case not let Driss know what's going on. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, so Driss makes him pause at his room while he calls Mina to tell her not to stress and goes to take care of Philippe. Philippe, notwithstanding, isn't sluggish yet. In the wake of making Driss take a gander at a work of art with him, he gets some information about his family, which Driss at first would rather not discuss, yet ultimately surrenders. It turns out Adama in fact isn't his sibling and his folks aren't really his folks, they're his auntie and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8 since they could never have children, and his genuine name is Bakri Basari. But since different children had that name, they called him Idris, and that became Driss. At some point, his auntie wonderfully had the option to consider, and after his uncle passed on, there were different men and more children too. Similarly, Driss had conversed with him about Elisa. Philippe calls attention to that Adama needs discipline, so he fires Driss so he can be there with his family since he can't spend his entire life dealing with an elderly person. The following morning, after Baston has brought his day-to-day croissant while wearing a superior hairstyling, Driss gathers his sacks and prepares to go. Magli comes to say her farewells, and when Driss attempts to hit on her one final time, Magli acquaints him with his better half Fred, which is short for FRA tilde copyright DA tilde copyright Rick. Ends up Magli isn't keen on men, and Driss abandons the spot. On out of the house, he gives the child's screen back to Yvonne and prods her for having misled him about Magli just to meddle with him. Consequently, she gives him the escort record he had begun, and he's disheartened to find the image he had picked is concealed there. Driss discards the document, however he saves the photograph for himself. When outside, he finds a vehicle indeed impeding the entry, so he requests that he move away regardless of whether he work there any longer. At the point when Adama calls him out for it, Driss says involves guideline. A couple of hours after the fact, the two siblings go get their mom at the station. While back at the house, Philippe is having his most memorable supper along with his new guardian, who is stodgy and exhausting, and Philippe chooses to leave him without having a nibble. Since Yvonne is out on the town with the landscaper, no one is there to admonish him for it. As days pass, Driss returns to his previous lifestyle. He spends time with his lifelong companions once more and tells the folks from the dubious vehicle not to annoy Adama any longer. At the point when he goes to a meeting he needs more insight for, he figures out how to prevail upon the business by referring to himself as common sense and utilizing all the workmanship information he gained while working for Philippe. This grounds him a task as a driver. Philippe keeps on detesting his new overseer and is feeling consistent terrible. One evening, he declines anybody in the house to assist him with his ghost torment, so Yvonne calls Driss and requests that he come over. That is the means by which they end up in the circumstance all along, with the police pursuing after them first and accompanying them to the medical clinic later. After that little experience, Driss drives Philippe to the coast, and seeing the ocean assists Philippe with quieting down. In a little while, Driss deals with Philippe's congested facial hair prior to taking him to an eatery for lunch, yet he doesn't remain, in light of the fact that another person will make Philippe organization today. Driss wishes him karma. Lastly gives him back his egg prior to leaving, and Philippe begins stressing over being separated from everyone else until he sees who his date is, LA tilde copyright Honor, who is happy to see him and wouldn't fret the seat by any means. The genuine Count Philippe Postsodi Borgo currently lives in Morocco. He has remarried and has 2 little girls. The genuine Driss, really called Abdel Yasmin Selou, has his own firm and is additionally hitched with 3 youngsters. The 2 men keep on being extremely dear companions right up till now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell for more videos like this.